What is up, guys? We're back. Bucks and Brews back. Ohio State football with Scarlet and Graded is back. Ohio State football this weekend is back. I hope you're back. Come on and listen to us today. We have Jim Knowles taking on Mike Locksley, somebody that gave him fits last year. And can Jim Knowles start to, I don't know, prove himself and even more? Is this his stiffest test? We keep saying, is this his test? Is this his test? Is Mike Locksley really the test in the Maryland Terrapins and baby Tua? We'll see. While you're here, guys, with these YouTube channels, they say smash the like and subscribe. I don't want you to just press it. We do pretty good. I asked you to subscribe. We pick up some more subscriptions. We're always growing here. Over 5,000, by the way. But a lot of channels say you need to smash the like and subscribe button. So we've been doing good at pressing it. Let's see if people smash it this time and if it makes any difference. Don't damage your phones. But if you do, maybe Corey will buy you a new one. Corey, I was trying to subscribe and I smashed the like button too hard. Like and subscribe. And as always, roll call. Where are you watching from? I have very much enjoyed seeing. I especially enjoy seeing Ohio towns close to where I have lived, small towns. Anybody down there in southern Ohio, that's a forgotten place. I love to give the love there. Got strong roots down there. Anyways, smash like and subscribe. Anybody from 937? Anybody? We had people from different countries. Anybody abroad? Please let me know. All right. Heavyweight fight here coming up. Jim Knowles versus Mike Locksley 2. It reminds me of like a UFC or a boxing event, right? You have part 2. Part 1, this was, I'll go ahead and tell you, this was not, this was a forgotten, I think, failed test by Ohio State. You know, you have it late, you have it before Michigan, you have a very close game that Maryland had the ball and could have driven down and like it tore the game up. The score looks better than it was because Steel Chambers had, made great play, had a touchdown at the end. Believe it was a strip sack, fumble, something recovery. Anyways, we pulled away. It wasn't exactly a beautiful performance. And when you look back, you're like, okay, Jim Knowles' defense was good, except for Maryland, Michigan, Georgia. Okay, where we when you needed me the most? What did Urban say? When I needed you the most, you gave me your very best. Not the case with Jim Knowles' defense last year. But here's the thing. We need to examine what happened last year at 400 yards. Maryland took Knowles for 400 yards last year. So I know teams are different, players are different, but Maryland's coming to the game rolling pretty good. They just put up over 40 on Indiana, which I thought was a good defense when I watched them face us. I know we were going through the kinks when we were working things out and that kind of thing. Week 1 lies. I'm not saying don't use transitive property here. I am saying that because you know that you can't do that, especially with a week 1 game. Week 1 lies. That's number one rule, one of the number one rules. My rules in college football, week 1 lies. But anyways, a good defense that OSU, could see, hey, these guys are stiff in certain areas. Maryland took them for over 40, all right? So you see what happened last year. Last year, Maryland took Knowles for over 400, gave up over 300 yards through the air. That's the key here. I've never really thought Jim Knowles was a bad run defender. And we've had these games each through the years, and the failed part seems to be the pass, right? It's always the pass, or the pass, that Jim Knowles' defense has struggled with. So we come into the season, we go, okay, well, Western Kentucky, they like to throw the ball around. And it was a pretty great outing by Jim Knowles' defense. And we're like, what's different? Give Zach Smith credit. He said, look, they're not going to do a lot of stuff different, although they have been better about not blitzing all the time, being Don Brown. I've heard Ryan Day has kind of pulled Knowles back on that. It's like you can't just give up big plays. But more so than changing a lot of the scheme and philosophy, it's just run it better. And I think that's a lot, even on offense, when people talking about the play calling stuff, and there've been a few times the play calling has been like head scratchers, but I don't think it's as bad as people think. It's funny to me. Ryan Day is the same guy that's orchestrated amazing offenses, and all of a sudden people think he can't call plays. But the execution, that's what Ryan Day, Jim Knowles need to answer for. Why can't your guys execute the things that seem to be simple? Why can't they hold blocks, et cetera, et cetera? So I think when you look at what's going on with these games, last year again, this coming into this year, Jim Knowles' defense somewhat similar, but just run it better. You look at Western Kentucky, pass the test. Now, I will say, if you look at passing rankings, this year Western Kentucky isn't ranked that high. However, part of that's probably because they played Ohio State one game, and that really locked them up. All right. So you look into, we had Notre Dame, and Sam Hartman looks like a pretty good quarterback. So that'll be the real test. Well, Notre Dame does like to lean on the run, but they're going to let Sam Hartman try to throw it around. And Knowles did pretty good. I mean, the ball moved between the 20s. It looked like a Halfley defense. It did. Not in, like, I'm not talking schematics. I'm not qualified to talk about that stuff in depth. I'm saying Halfley's defense would, like, bend and not break, give up very few points. They would, in the second half, I feel like they would restrict ball movement even more than Jim Knowles' defense did. But look, that's a good Maryland team with a great offensive line. That was a freaking good offensive line. And the passing attack wasn't that great. And we're like, okay, Knowles passed the test. I keep saying, I'm kind of responsible for it because the jury's out on Knowles, but I was a big fan of the hire. Don't like that he's a vegan. That's kind of weird. But I was a big fan of the hire. Last year was kind of a letdown. And so I'm like, okay, Western Kentucky, was that the test? Oh, he passed it. But I don't know. Notre Dame, that's the test. Oh, he passed it. I don't know. Is Maryland the test? Now, let me first say, the reason why I think we keep doing this and why we keep saying maybe he didn't pass the test, maybe that team wasn't that good, I think Notre Dame didn't look so great on offense, passing the ball, and Western Kentucky looked kind of thwarted, passing the ball, because they played Ohio State. They didn't look, and we don't want to say Jim Knowles passed a test because we look at that team and we say, oh, that team's actually not that good on offense. That team actually can't throw the ball that well. And I'm like, maybe they can, but they played us, so it looks worse. Like, you guys I'm kind of starting to think that the defense, Josh Proctor, breakout player of the year, like, I'm starting to think Denzel Burke, all these guys, I'm starting to think they are just making teams look worse than they are. And we keep saying, is this the real test? Is this the real test? But he's passing the test so well. All right, let's roll into Maryland. 44 points. They score at least 30 each game. 44 points against Indiana, which I thought was a good defense. They took Knowles for over 400 last year. You see that, you know that. Maryland's basically tied with Ohio State in passing offense and total offense. They're around 30th in the country, some of those metrics. Around 300 yards a game, right, passing. So we look, that's a good offense. They could be even better than that. Honestly, do you think there's going to be 30 teams better than OSU in offense in the country when it's all said and done? No, but in the beginning of the year, you work out some wrinkles. We had 2 full games we just used as like a test of who's going to play quarterback. So I'm willing to say OSU, like if you put up 44 in Indiana and they're playing like FCS schools and putting up 38, I'm willing to say their offense is good. Like it's going to trend even upward, and so is Ohio State's. So I think this passing attack is. I don't know if I want to say it's yet another, the real test for Jim Knowles. Are you guys drinking your coffee this morning? You had better be with your Bucks and Brew Come on, get up and go. I apologize for that interruption, but I'm desperately in need of my coffee in the morning. I think this offense is going to hum throughout the season, Maryland offense. But do they hit a roadblock, a stone wall in this heavyweight fight, Jim Knowles versus Mike Locksley, too? I'd like to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen? But the real thing is, like, I keep saying is this the test? Is this the test? The Silver Bullets might be back. And that's the other thing. We're afraid to kind of say it. Ohio State's got a top 10 defense right now. It's like they're like number 6 in yards a game. We're kind of afraid to say it, but like, I think because last year the defense looked much improved because anything's an improvement. It's hard to give a lot of credit to improving last year's defense over the years before because Kerry Combs' defense was so bad. Like, seriously, anybody, Greg Schiano would have made it look better. But it looked better, and we give him credit for that, and we're saying we think the defense is a lot better. And then we play Maryland, Michigan, Georgia, and like, no, the defense isn't better. So I think we're afraid to say it, but the evidence is kind of there. The evidence is there that this defense is much improved. We're afraid to say it and get burnt at the end of the year. Like, I think we're kind of like, well, if we don't beat Michigan, Jim Knowles isn't back. Jim Knowles isn't a good hire. I think it's a little unfair. I think we're all kind of thinking that in the back of our minds. So with this, can we agree if I'm interested in your comments. Can we agree that if we pass this test, if this is not like a 38-31 game, if this is a 17-38 game, that Silver Bullets are back? That Jim Knowles is passing the test? That Jim Knowles got a rematch with Mike Locksley and won this time? I mean, he's facing a team that's putting similar stats up to Ohio State. That's what he does in practice. Face good teams. So I'm prepared to say it, man. If they do it, Silver Bullets are back. Come back and see us next time. You understand. One more test before we can say it. Ohio State controls Maryland. Jim Knowles controls Mike Locksley. Silver Bullets are back.